we'd be able to help them out. Simplicity is super excited to be involved with the KFA Real Estate Summit this year. Please come see me in the booth at the back, and I'd be happy to answer any questions and continue networking with everyone.
Good afternoon. So this is the last panel of the day. Thank you for hanging in there. I know it's been a long day, but hopefully you've gotten some good takeaways that you can implement into your individual businesses. This last panel is a group of guys, all of whom are personal friends of mine, and this is kind of the developer panel. I'll quickly introduce. We've got Albert Angelo III on the far left. We've got Ryan Hurley with Hurley Development there in the middle, and finally Terry Woolham. We're going to go ahead and start with Ryan. So Ryan Hurley, you've probably seen his building as you're coming over the I-5 bridge. Ryan has been in the development game for about 24 years now. He's 13 years. He's had his own operation. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Ryan. And I want this to be a very free form, nothing formal or structured, but just want you guys to kind of talk about that which you feel is relevant to real estate agents and lenders for that matter. And I know, Ryan, you've got a very big project in East Vancouver, I think HQ Vancouver, which you and I were chatting earlier, and it's your biggest one by a long shot. So I'll let you elaborate on that and any other elements that you feel are applicable. So.
Sure. It's good to see you all. We know you're running on empty, so we'll try to be quick and as energetic as we can. As far as real estate and development in Vancouver, we are bullish on Vancouver. We're reading a lot in the headlines nationally, and the problem with the national statistics is we're nowhere near them. Our economy, when you think about the time you guys are investing, we're the fastest growing region in the nation. We're the third fastest growing metro in the nation. We are 3 times the national average for job growth, economic growth. Vancouver has made lots of changes by way of development. Development always starts first, and housing is a tremendous big part of that picture. And so I think one of the things you guys can do, when I think about all of the relationships I have with brokers, is knowing the developments and where they're going and what's going to happen, because focusing your time on a region or a specific area in Clark County in particular that has a really unique development going next door, neighborhood shopping, things like that, is better use of your time than maybe doing that in a different location. So our big project on the east side is called HQ Vancouver. It's well over $1 billion. It's roughly 2,000 apartments, 33 buildings, 300,000+ square feet of office, industrial. And what we do out there matters. Think of it this way: every single day of our lives, money's shooting up in the air from Portland, Vancouver, and I mean, it's a lot. We have actually quite a bit of economic status in this town, in this region. It's shooting up and it's landing in Silicon Valley, other places. So by doing development, we're sending sort of this beacon up to say, no, don't go past us, land here. That's what gets our roads done. That's what gets our lights in. That's what gets shopping centers in. And you guys, the more you know that Trader Joe's is going in Salmon Creek. That's one of our projects. You can tell your clients, hey, this is a big deal. Trader Joe's is going to be here, or whatever unique shopping opportunities and different things, whether it's a really great Top Golf or something like that, is important. So keeping your eye on those developments is good. And like I said, I think ranking-wise, we've received 57% of 15,000 people that left Portland. 57%, on top of our normal growth. And we've got lots of units, roughly 7,000 units, but we need 14,000. The latest report was we're 14,000 units in need right now in Clark County. So it's a good market, and it's good to be bullish, and things will relax, but we're sitting so much better in so many different ways, from tax status to the fact that we have affordable housing plans and different things that our neighbor doesn't. So, yeah.
Very cool. Albert, why don't you tell us about which projects you currently have that are,
Yeah.
the beefier ones.
The beefier ones. So we've been around a little while. My grandfather, Al Angelo Sr., was mayor back in the day, started with nothing, came from Italy, and started buying up land through Clark County. And over the last 75 years, we're now up to a point of about 3,000 apartment units on the West Coast, about 1 million square feet of office retail, and I'm trying not to screw up the third generation, but it's a lot of fun. Ryan's absolutely correct. He's got all the stats, but anecdotally, we're in the right spot. It's you just see it. You see it with your feet. You see it with everything that's going on when you go downtown Vancouver now. I mean, you got the waterfront. You've got our corridor. We were one of the first ones into the Esther Short Park Heritage renovation in early 2000 it was, and just to kind of follow that lead of what Hurley's saying is, see where projects are coming in, because everything kind of comes around that core, and obviously lifts the river floats all boats. And what you guys end up doing, we don't sell any of our real estate really. Rarely do we do that, but we just believe that Vancouver and Clark County is a place to not only invest your time, your money, but also this is a special community. A lot of people give back. We were raising our family here. I've got 3 kiddos back there, and my lovely wife. In fact, little Albert, let's do something to get these guys engaged a little bit. Albert, come up here, Bubba. Little Albert. So I got Albert Angelo the Fourth. Him and I think Olivia are going to run the company one day. But come here, Bubba. And the reason I say this is because we could move our family business anywhere, and we do it because we believe in this place, and financially it's good. Hey, you're going to go pass out these Starbucks cards to. I'd start with the ladies. He's pretty good.
Hey, Albert. Before you go, I have a quick question. What are your feelings on the economic growth moving forward?
Well,
go ahead and pass.
He's a Pokemon collector, so I hope that pays off one day. Talk about college, but yeah, I mean, don't want to be long-winded here, but Ryan's absolutely correct, and Terry will say the same thing. I mean, we're bullish for not only the midterm but long-term. Short-term, yeah, there's going to be some corrections, but there's a lot of opportunities when that happens, and you guys all know that. You find out what you're good at. You gave all of them to her? Well, you got to spread them out. You know how you spread the wealth, buddy. Okay, good. All right. Good job, brother. By the way, and I know I'm off topic, but my wife will love this. We just found out we're having baby number 4 here. So but keep that a secret, can you?
Yeah.
I haven't told my father yet. We're supposed to fly down and see him in California, so anyway. But yeah, this is just an unbelievable place. We put our money where our mouth is, and that's Vancouver here, Clark County. And frankly, Terry, real quick, he told me yesterday, he sent me a text. He goes, I need you to testify on Zoom. Now, of course, you never go there, regarding a Senate bill for rent control. And of course, we're not for rent control. And there's unintended consequences for that. So I would just say, I'm sure you heard it all day today, get involved, network, etc. And the same thing with this position this morning when I was testifying. Get involved, understand what things are happening, because it's going to affect your industry. And there's a lot of areas that you guys can kind of, sharpen the sword, if you will. And so, yeah, there you go.
Cool.
T-Dub?
Terry Woolham, who's been a real estate agent and developer for about 26 years here in Clark County, and you have a pretty big project that's a little further along, North Haven, over by the amphitheater. Is that right?
Yeah, we have a project that should be final plat approved in about 2 weeks. There's some houses that are being built out there right now. Currently, they're for sale. And we took a chance on that. We finished it at all in one swoop. Like normally you'd phase out a project like that, but to what Ryan spoke about and and all of us and what we've experienced, just the inventory shortage, we did that at one time just because we knew that demand was there. We have people that have contacted us from one investor that really stood out was someone who's a chief investment officer for a Fortune 500 company out of Atlanta, and they specifically focus on large multifamily projects and light industrial projects and things of that nature. And he commented, he wasn't looking at Portland Metro, he was looking at Clark County, and he was looking at Denver area, Boulder, that area there. So and then I know we have other investors too that will talk to us. I know Vancouver, BC is always really focused on us. Even with all the prices we've seen increases on, we're still the most affordable large metro area on the West Coast, on a I-5 corridor. We're the southernmost point that doesn't have income tax. So we draw people. A lot of the reason why people from Portland are coming over, some of it's tax-based. Our schools, things of that nature have been really helped with our growth. And we used to be a bedroom community, and now we're providing our own jobs, and we're able to avoid the bridge crossing and what that is, and really retain people here. And so you're going to hear it repeated, but we all feel really confident about what the market is. And being a lifelong person that grew up here and lived here, I would say it wasn't because I was smart. It was just got lucky that this is where I grew up. But yeah, timing-wise, this is a really good time for us. It's tough in regards to lack of inventory. I know it's hard for everybody out there in that regard. Unfortunately, it's not going to get easier for us, but it is going to be good for values, and you can feel really confident in the clients that you talk to that when they make a purchase, it's going to be something that's going to be a strong investment for them.
With you being both on the real estate side and the development side, I mean, what do you think begins to swing that to be more of either a level playing field or God forbid, a buyer's market? Okay, next question. No, but let me ask you guys, what do you feel what are the biggest challenges that the three of you have as, developers with getting these projects up and running, whether it be, all the red tape in the beginning, or, I mean, what's the stuff that just grinds you with each of these projects as your, the life of process?
Yeah, that's an exciting topic. In general, we're somewhere between third to fourth most regulated state in the U.S. California, Hawaii is always up there. So a project used to take about 18 months. You could maybe do something in a year. You're looking at best case, you're looking at getting to a house that's built 3 years. The people that do development used to be, I would say we're about 20% of what that was 4 to 5 years ago, the people that are doing development in the area. The sophistication and complication of it makes it really difficult. And the amount of money that it takes. We saw consolidation of banks following the Great Recession in 07, 08, and those were the banks that typically were providing funding for residential development, residential housing, things of that nature. So it's made it really difficult on that side, on the funding side. So those have been things that are also constraints. It's not just the process, but also the financing part of it.
Okay. Albert?
Yeah, piggybacking on that, again, we don't do a lot of subdivisions. We've done those in the past, but just take, for instance, our condo project, the Heritage I was talking about earlier. You have the laws where they can come back and sue you within a certain time frame, and so Washington Condominium Act is trying to be changed as well. And again, following the laws, as Terry says, it's a lot of red tape. But if you get involved and you know what you're dealing with, it can make your risk management, if you will. When it comes to the downtown core, just to be frank with you, we know everybody, and it's still tough. And sometimes it almost makes it tougher, but you got to be able to hold time as money in projects. You're trying to deploy funds, and it's not an easy game to be played, but it's worth it. We're a long-term vision company, and in the end, it makes a lot of sense. But that's why for us, when we're looking at particular places to invest our money, we have looked at Idaho, Arizona, Denver. We've got holdings over there now. Oregon, we're not going over there anymore. We still have stuff that's there, but that's, to the fact of what these guys are talking about, take advantage of what you have here in Vancouver and Clark County, the tax structure, all these other things that obviously help us out. And I think we're just on the precipice of an even greater jump over this next decade. So yeah, you're in the right area.
Cool.
clap. I'll get you a hot chocolate later.
He's got an applause sign somewhere. Yeah, with every challenge is a great opportunity. I would say that we are a very highly regulated state. We're a renewable state, which is an advantage. At the same time, we have to build our buildings at what is a silver LEED level. So that's our minimum. That's the minimum building we can build, say, in an apartment structure downtown. And but there's an advantage. So one of the things to do is to, differentiate yourself, look at the opportunities. So two things my company's focused on that is not going to go away. So sustainability and our iPhones, smart technology. They are the future of real estate on so many different levels. So in particular, we've worked hard to educate ourselves and try to put in the first micro smart city on the West Coast, fully sustainable at HQ. That's going to help Vancouver in many, many ways. It's an audacious goal, but we've worked hard with a very large team from JCI to Microsoft to AWS, all these experts in the space on how to do those both, and one can't be done without the other. So for instance, we have to make sure that our fiber is super, super high. And so we're a company in dark fiber. We own the fiber, like a utility. And we make sure ours is running a gig end to end. Those things are really, really important in searching, being online at work. We're streaming everything, safety, like keyless entry on doors. So having what is called a managed network in our buildings, as an example, is an advantage over Comcast. No offense to anyone here that works with Comcast, but that's not a managed network. That's just a network. Is there a booth here? So, no, and yeah, is there a booth here? So those are things that are important, and as you're thinking about your clients, those are the projects you want to be near. Those are the housing you want to be encouraging your builders to really build, because that is what people are looking for when they move in from California with $900,000 of cash. And so that's a great opportunity to be thinking about. If the market is, there's not a lot of people buying, there's people renting. Well, if there's people renting, there are investors looking to buy those houses. So switching your business model a little bit, just being flexible. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not break. At the end of the day, that's the best way to run a business, much like you guys, where it's all big. It's 10 things a year, not 1,000 gadgets that you're running through a machine. It's like 10 homes, 10 clients. But to be that kind of flexible, find what the opportunity is. There's tons of it here in the market.
What about all those NIMBY people, the not in my backyard folks? Like, for example, you buy a chunk of land and, you have some, a concerned neighbor next door that is worried about those homes going in because they might affect his barn and his animals, and his wife loves those animals. And no, I have to call Ryan. He was kind enough to sell a little chunk of land to my wife and I to allow us to preserve our little farm and our little oasis in the backyard. So thank you for that, Ryan. I appreciated you being a good, friendly developer.
I didn't have a choice. Like 200 people called me and they're like, you have to talk to him.
Oh, I went on Facebook. Everybody that was even remotely connected to me and Ryan, like, please call him and tell him I got to talk to him.
One thing I would say to that point, because we were mentioning inventory, the UGB, Urban Growth Boundary, is up for change in 2005 in June. That's the final decision. Right now is when they start considering those things. And it's important to be a voice in that, to say, because there's a lot of people right now saying we have enough, no more. And that's going to affect our inventory, not only with product being built, but the cost of the existing product, right? And what we're advocates of, we have people come out that say, I don't want that development. And we absolutely work hard to respect every single person that's in that conversation, to listen, to modify if we can, and we have many, many times through that process, or to try to figure out a win-win scenario. That's the best way to do business. But ultimately, you guys being in that voice saying we need product, we need more land, and no one's looking to destroy deer, fill wetlands, stuff like that. Good developers don't do that. Unfortunately, there's just we get a bad rap a little bit for that, but there's a lot of really good, and I can tell you the three up here work very hard to maintain good development and to do it accurately and right and bring life in how we run our businesses.
So to that point, where do you see us? And I know this is a very cliche question, but I'm curious for you guys, just unfiltered here with industry brethren among us, where do you see us in the next, say, 5 to 10 years? As it relates to growth, and what are those what are the biggest hurdles going to be? A Department of Ecology, or what's going to be your biggest hurdles?
The agencies are always difficult. You heard the timeline to build a house. It's worse on big developments. The bigger the city, the more difficult the process becomes. So that's why Vancouver's attractive. Portland, I built some buildings over there, and it's a 4-year process just to get approved, and it's an absolute nightmare. So what I would say is, here's what's so crazy and unique, because I grew up here too. We are becoming a Bellevue, so to speak, to Seattle versus us to Portland. We have better taxes. We have all those. We have tons and tons and tons of benefit, from car congestion to gateway projects that are brand new and better sustainable buildings because they're newer. That's the opportunity, is to actually build a modern city that's more thoughtful, that's thoughtful of smart technology. Our right now chance is to go from absolute great adolescence into a pro ball player in a very unique, differentiated way. So what is important is politics, as an example, not getting one side or the other. We are 51-49 across the board. That's your market. So when you come out, and again, sorry if it sounds preachy, but when you come out on super one side and this is it, well, you might as well just go to that side of your clientele. Because people are moving here because they want less battle in the politics, right? So recognizing that for your clientele, that's a good thing as to where we're at. If we start getting rid of our safety, as an example, we're going to see a mass exodus. And Portland has hurt themselves for the next decade. We are now the star of the show on this side of the river, with amenities like huge national parks, the river, on and on and on. So we are sitting so unique in this moment, and it's a great time to be a representative in real estate.
You.
Goosebumps, huh?
I might go buy some.
Goosebumps.
Unique New York. Yeah, just hitting off on that. My wife and I had a date night here recently, and it wasn't that night, but we don't have to go to Portland anymore. We've had Blazer tickets for 40 plus years. Rest in peace, Bill Schonley. We gave it up this year after 40 years. We've had courtside seats. It's not worth it, and we have to take advantage of that opportunity that we have. We have an amazing opportunity. I've got my handsome broker back there, Casey Fuller. Give him a clap because he showed up today. Thank you, Kevin. He doesn't want to be here, but I told him he had to be, so there you go. Or I'm looking for a new broker. Anybody? Okay, that'll get his attention. Yeah, absolutely. You are in the right spot, and we believe in it, and obviously all these guys do too. And it's not just that we live here and got lucky that we were born here, et cetera, as Terry said, or Ryan, but people are coming here from all over. You know it, not just Oregon. You see it from people in California. You got folks coming from the East Coast. Every time we build a new apartment complex, half of them are not from Vancouver. So I don't have all the stats like these smart guys, but I see the ladies in our office who really run the whole entire office. They're amazing. They run the show. They run the operations. They give me a download every month, and 50% of people are not from here. So take advantage of that, and let's do it right.
Terry, what are your thoughts?
Just to not repeat what they said, I'll talk about the fact that energy-wise, we're one of the least expensive as it relates to electricity. That's going to stay that way. As it relates to our availability of water, specifically on the west side of the state, we don't have limitations there. That sounds like a small thing, but I mean, if you look California and east, obviously it's a huge issue. And those are things that they're playing out now, but they're really gonna play out in the 5 to 10 year range. Temperature's pushing too. We're gonna continue to see people push north because of that. So we're seeing more foreign investment in Washington State. That's also happening. We haven't talked about that too much, but Ryan can speak directly to that as far as like he knows large groups that are putting money here. Our largest regional builder was purchased by a group out of Japan. That doesn't happen, right? If we're not a market that someone wants to be interested in, and people are paying attention across the world. So those are exciting things that are happening now, and it's just on the front end, and will continue to grow and build.
Ryan, did you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean it's like the culture is what we are, and as we kind of guide our people coming in, our clients, our buyers, we continue to push and demand product that is more market driven with our builders. What I would say is 5 years ago we didn't have Greystar, BlackRock, Lincoln, none of the big boys were here considering investing in this market. Every single one of them we've had conversations with. We have banks out of New York we deal with, Korea to Canada. Everybody knows Clark County is doing really well. Everybody knows Portland's not, Seattle's not as much. And as we sort of continue to up our game, it's really important, again, to recognize whether you believe it or not about sustainability. It's not going away. The mandate for the city of Vancouver is to be completely carbon neutral by 2030.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Which is, okay, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I do know this. I need to not be drugged through that process, but I need to lead that process. So as a little example, I just got approval today. There's a noise ordinance, has to do with the inside envelope of a building downtown. PTAC systems, which is what heats and cools each unit, are not allowed to be a variable speed. Variable speed PTACs reduce energy by 35%. I called up the top people in the city and I said, you guys got to help me out. Think of what you're saying with the mandate. Here we're trying to do this. You got to run me as a beta test. This is good, because then I can charge 35% less in our power to our clients. So head to head with someone else, I've got an advantage. I'm constantly trying to think of an advantage. And I'm also not going to fight, whether it's political or whether it's market driven. I can't fight those things. Banks right now, they're either going to lend this type of money or they're going to lend at this type of use category. So instead of fighting that, try to redefine or kind of angle, position the company and our developments and what we do into those sort of fronts, so that we're not being drugged, but we're leading that process. And I would say that Vancouver has been following Portland for a very long time, and it's time to take lead. We are now a leading on its own industry and city, and we need to sort of take that form of our adult personhood to the next level of who we really are.
Cool. Terry, you said you had something to add to that.
I was going to kind of piggyback off of what Albert said a while back and a little bit of what Ryan just commented about. I've chaired government affairs for our association, Clark County Association of Realtors, for a long time. Most of the years since 2005. And I would just tell everyone that it is more important to understand. It's more complicated, unfortunately. Everything is, we like to try to put things in like little sound bites that are easy to understand and track, and things are more nuanced. But it's really important to be as involved or more involved than you ever have been as it relates to politically on issues as it relates to property rights. So real estate excise tax they're talking about increasing it again. So I don't think most people understand So when we sell a residential development, or if there's an apartment that sells, like it's pretty much every time you're going to hit 3.5% on excise tax. That used to be where we were hitting. It was half that. So those are things that get passed on, right? We had the energy code that passed. That was put in, I'll say by the governor's office, but it feeds through other departments. But that added on, this is last February, and that added on approximately $12,000 to $15,000 per house, depending on the house. Impact fees in Camas, we're at $27 a square foot is attributed, if you look at a small townhouse, is attributed to just the permits. Just the permits. That's $41,000. So those things are making it's adding on to that cost to build. But so it's important. You're going to get emails or text messages from Washington Realtors, and I would tell you, please respond. It's helpful. We did Hill Day last Thursday. That's always a great thing to go up to. It's a good experience just to learn about how our legislature works, but I would tell you, it's not the most exciting thing if you're not into politics. I understand that politics is the most discouraging thing probably to even think about, but it is a necessary, I'll say evil, to be able to be a part of and to help to protect our industry and to make sure that we can continue to have the livelihood that we have. And also, B&O tax is another one they're talking about jumping up considerably. So that's one that's getting voted on this session. But these are things we hear about after they happen. So if you know someone who's a state senator, if you know someone who's a state rep, talk to them, let them know that you're concerned about real estate issues, you're concerned about real estate excise tax and B&O tax. And I realize those are not fun conversation starters, but it's important. And so if everyone would help in that, it would make a difference. It would make a difference.
Out of curiosity, of the little pockets of Clark County, you mentioned Camas and Battleground, Ridgefield, where you have the other project. Is there any one little particular area over another that just constantly is giving you guys frustration or giving you fits when you are going, muscling your way through the process?
All the above. We'll just say all the above.
Got it. Hey,
they all have different reasons that they're difficult. They all have different reasons, but they're all difficult. I will give them credit for the fact that everyone has a problem with staffing, no matter what you do, and that is an aspect of the complication that we have, as well as regulation that comes from the state that they didn't get to choose and they have to implement. So I'll give them, that part's hard.
Hey, you should consider politics. That was a great answer for. I was trying to set you up, but you know. So hey, we have just a couple minutes left. If there's any questions for these three guys from the gallery, I'm happy to.
I had a question about your hair.
I went all in on the Christmas picture this year, and I made the mistake of dyeing it black. I should have gone temporary. I went permanent, and. They tried to take the permanent out, and I looked in the mirror. It was red. You know what this is? This is God messing with me for all those years of making fun of this redhead to my left here, and now I have it. I've got gray underneath, red, a little bit of black left, and the gray. It's just a casserole of nonsense on my head. But thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate. Yeah, in sync-ish. There you go. Any other questions for these developer types before we wrap up and call it a day? Not a one? Serious? There's one.
I have a question.
About my hair?
No, but just bleach. So, do you guys know of any, what is going to come in to employ and support this growing market? Do you guys see any of that?
From an employment standpoint?
You've got one, Zoom. If you guys have heard of Zoom, they're starting, or they're in the middle of it. Matt Olson's building it, same guy who builds a lot of our stuff, a 300,000 square feet office right downtown in the waterfront. So that's just gonna, just like when Fisher came to Camas, that type of thing, naturally spreads out, and you've got people buying houses, going to restaurants, doing what you do. So that's one particular company. But Ryan, I know you.
Yeah, no, I would say too that another huge thing, waterfront is a couple $1 billion infrastructure project, right? The bridge, whether we like it or not, it's coming. That's probably, I'm guessing, 6 to 8 billion. It's going to be a little difficult in traffic. But cities don't get that very often. That large of an infrastructure, bringing in that much money, construction, they have a place to eat, they have to have a place to stay, all the construction guys. It's huge. It's really, really big. And big projects like Al's doing one on Mill Plain.
Yeah, Tower Mall. Used to be Tower Mall, if anybody is familiar with that.
He's a saint.
Yeah, right. Hey.
Tower Records
My wife
is
thought I
coming
looked
back.
like Michael Bublé, but that was 10 years ago. I've gained 20 Michael Bublés. But so Tower Mall, the city bought. The other, I'd say 70%, we own about 30% on the corner. That's going to be a huge project. Not quite the waterfront, of course, but not having the water itself. But it's going to be a beautiful development that's much needed in that area. It needs some TLC, and we're going to be working with the city on that, kind of like we did with Esther Short Park redevelopment. And so I'd be looking as realtors in that area as you start to see things that are kind of coming up in value and have an opportunity that, again, spreads that growth organically. That's going to be one to watch over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah,
I mean, there's those key, unique projects that are happening. The old HP campus, that group is Rabina out of New York. There's a lot of big things happening.
Yeah, SCH.
What is?
They're doubling their campus.
Yeah,
That's
so
right,
and they're a huge employer. And CREDC or groups like Identity Clark County. I mean, we have some great groups that are working really hard on promotion of jobs and of this area for economic growth and where to invest in. But it is really kind of unique developments. First, I'm reminded that the Angelo family had such a major hand in Esther Short Park as an example long before downtown was downtown. And those of us that grew up here, it was Sketchville. We invested a ton because we thought it was the most economic growth area to look at. I can tell you what our model says. The next one is Hazeldale. These are just areas that, and actually our model didn't include his project on Mill Plain that he was just talking about. So these are really strategic areas if you want to, if you're a person that's sourcing rental for different buyers. These are things to know that are under the radar that make a giant impact. That bridge is going to be really, really big and create a lot of importance because that's our front yard. That's our front door. So that look of a new bridge being modern is our gateway. It's like good for us. And then great for Portland is you get past the bridge, you're going to be in a parking lot because they have to improve the next part of I-5 and they're not doing that. So it's really good for us. And so those are the kind of key things to be thinking about when you're talking to your clients. You're telling them what a great place, why on this side, looking at those taxes. There's just we're on the checkbox on everything right now as far as things on our side. So everybody's a little subject to this interest rate risk right now, and banks have slowed down. They're all kind of sitting on the sidelines, and I think all three of us have a worldly, personal, economic outlook that we kind of are ascribing to right now. That's probably a little different, but most of it's the same. But at the end of the day, 2 years from now, we're back in a boom, more than likely. We're doing well. Rates are coming down, and that's too late. Now's the time to be strategic and to plan out your business and to plan out, the assets you're going for and what that looks like personally, professionally, and so on. So,
Albert, any closing thoughts?
Smile. I want to take a picture of my son here. Just.
I'll wrap up just a little bit on that topic.
Sure.
So, again, SEH, they're going to be.
Me, so yeah, go. Terry.
They're doubling their chip manufacturing that they have. There was we had something that was provided that was basically a subsidy for that was federal, and once that happened, within a week, they filed for permits. We're at approximately 520,000 just plus of that for population. That checks boxes as far as for large national corporations, international corporations, as far as assumptions of, hey, we have a decent medical system, we have decent schools, we have a decent core group of employment that we can hire, that they can hire and things of that nature. So hitting that mark actually is a bit of a leaping point for us. And even though we've grown as much as we have, you're going to see that happen more so. So think, right, most of that growth is going to have to take place, and you're going to see it Ridgefield, La Center. We've already seen in Ridgefield. Ridgefield's been, 2 out of the last 4 years, one of the fastest growing city within the state of Washington, right? So La Center is going to, less sophistication there in their process of going through development, which makes it a little difficult, but you'll see La Center, and then that's going to keep pushing north. Cowlitz County is going to have a lot of growth. We're going to see that's going to just bleed into the north there. We get a little bit landlocked as we go east, but that will grow a little bit slower that way. Washougal's strong, but it's just a little bit difficult on the utility services and whatnot, but you'll see a lot of growth that's going to take place along the I-5 corridor and going north if you have people that are looking forward thinking and want to know where things are headed.
Sure.
Speaking of, real quick on the forward thinking, to leave it this image, Vancouver's going to continue to annex, and we are going to end up being the second largest city in the state of Washington, which, you'll never be Seattle, but we are on the map. And, that's why we're investing what we do personally, and we believe that we're just on the cusp of going from that teenager to the pros to, as Ryan is saying, you're in the right spot, and you came today, and you're in the right spot here. So I believe that we're just literally rounding first base, heading towards second. So it's a positive. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Hey, so the last speaker gave me this idea. As I was leaving the house this morning, my wife Heather said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to this conference thing. It's an all-day thing." And she kind of gave me that sideways glance that you wives give us husbands. So I need your help in saying, "Hey, Heather, he really is at the KFA conference. Hey, Heather, he really is at the KFA concert." All right, hit me. Hey. Swear to God, that's where I am. Swear to God. All right. Hey, I want to thank our three developers up here for joining us, and thank you very much for attending today. I believe that Dayton is going to close it down. Sorry? All right. There we go.
Wayne's World.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, everybody.